As my mom would say, it's a beautiful day to take a shower. It's a great day to have a great day. I love the flowers on your sleeves. Yes, I love the fire in your soul. I wanna be. Okay, shall we, people? Shall we? Yeah, we shall. What is this?
I love your skirt, Josephine.
Hey! Jessie's here early today.
Yeah, just minutes.
Early. Simple. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, you know what? You're right. Forget about the. Enough of that. How did you sleep? Oh, sorry. Hey, we're twinsies! Yeah! Check us out! Whoa! You know, when you first came here, the first thing I saw was like, whoa, she has cool shoes. No, I'm being so serious. Wow! It's true. I like your flowers. In your shoes. Good morning, Rabbi. How are you? Look at what I got yesterday. Look at all these books. I got the Hasidus one you told us to.
Is that Tova?
Yes.
Good Yom Tov. Good Yom Tov, everybody. It's a very special Yom Tov. It's the Yom Tov of Yom Tovs. I don't know how much you you got into Yutes Kislev, understanding that the Alter Rebbe was fighting for the survival of the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. It was a very serious fight, and he came out victorious, Baruch Hashem. The Rebbe explained that there's a concept in the Talmud that when a person owns a piece of property, and he has a deed, and someone comes along and says, "What are you doing on my property? You have no right to be here. This is my land. This is my house. This is my building." And you say, "Wait a minute, I bought it. I have a deed." He said, "Let me see your deed." You show him the deed. He says, "This is a forgery. This is no good." Maybe it's no good. I paid good money for it. We had lawyers, we investigated. He said, "No, it's full of mistakes. It's not valid. Get off my land." "I'm not getting off your land. It's my land." And so he takes him to court. If he's Jewish, he goes to the Beis Din. If the other guy refuses to go to Beis Din, then they get permission to go to non-Jewish court, which is a very terrible thing in itself. But anyway, that's the course of action you might have to take. And the case is in court. When the court decides that the person who is living in the house, occupying the land, has a valid deed and ratifies his deed, now his right of possession is much stronger, because since there was an objection raised to it, it was challenged, and it was ratified through the court, and the court said, "No, it is good, and you, Mr. Challenger, should go home. You have no right to be here. You used to live here. You sold it. The people you sold it to died. It's not yours anymore. Or you were overseas. It went out of your possession. It went to the deed that has been challenged and ratified is much stronger than before the challenge, because as long as it wasn't challenged, it could be challenged, and it could cause a lot of trouble and hardship for the person who is in possession. You with me, girls, in the back? There's an iron curtain here. Can't see you. So that's what happened on Yud Tes Kislev. The right for the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov to be taught was challenged. Yud Tes Kislev, the Alter Rebbe was in jail for 53 days in solitary confinement and under serious charges that brought with them the death penalty from the Russian government. And he emerged victorious. And the Rebbe cited this case of the Talmud of a deed that's challenged is stronger after the challenge than before. Because after the deed is ratified, it can no longer be challenged. They can appeal it, can go to appeals court, and if it's thrown out of appeals court, then it's over. All right. So that's why Yud Tes Kislev is called the Rosh Hashanah of Hasidus. By rights, Hey Teves could be called the same. Because the case for Hey Teves was a very serious case and was raised not by Russians who didn't understand Hasidus. It was raised by Jews, and not just Jews, but Hasidic Jews. And not just Hasidic Jews, but Jews from the family of the Rebbe himself. Good morning. Quickly. Okay, so while Chaya is getting seated, I'm going to take attendance. Chaya, Sophia, Leah, no. Leah, yes. The other Leah. Leah Rappaport, yes. Sarah. Sirka, yes. Malka, I think Malka's here.
Hi, Rabbi.
Yeah. Ariel Diamond, yes. Good morning, Ariel. And Simcha, Bracha Simcha.
I'm here.
I know. I saw you. And Tova.
Here.
Anybody I didn't call? Anybody's name I didn't mention? That's it.
Mine.
What? Tehillah.
Yeah. Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Tehillah. Good Yontif.
Good Yom Tov.
So what I want to really explain is what this Yontif is all about. A couple of fundamental teachings you have to understand. Number one, says the Alter Rebbe, we have to live with the times. What does that mean, live with the times? We don't follow every fashion. On the contrary, we follow the standards of the Torah. So what does it mean to live with the times? Times are always changing. It means to live with the parsha of the week. To live with what we're reading in the Torah at that time should influence us. We should take it to heart. Because Hashem looked in the Torah and created the world. The Torah is the blueprint of creation. Hashem is like an architect, like a builder. When an architect builds a building, this is a medrash. The medrash says Hashem looked in the Torah like an architect looks into his blueprints, and he builds according to the plan. First, he makes the plan, and then he builds the building. So Hashem made the plan. The plan is the Torah. And like every creative artist, why are creative artists like this? Because Hashem is like this. The plan was an expression of the inner essence of the one who made it. Who we got here? Sarah Abigail and Leah Brinstein. Okay, so every artist puts himself into his work. And Hashem put himself into the Torah. The first word of the 10 Commandments is Anoichi. I told you this at least twice already. That Anoichi is also an anagram. Anagrams means every letter stands for a word. So the word Anochi is an Egyptian word. The question is asked why the Ten Commandments begin with an Egyptian word. I'm not getting into that now. But the letters of the word Anochi mean in Aramaic, they stand for the Aramaic words, I wrote myself into the Torah and I gave it away. Hashem says, Ana, I, nafshi, my essence, my soul, my nefesh. I wrote down my nefesh and I gave it away. Where did he write it down? In the Torah. That's the first word of the Ten Commandments. Sarah Mora. Okay. That's principle number 2. What's principle number 1? I live with the times. Because that's principle number 1. We have to live with the times because the Torah that means live with the Torah portion of the week, because the Torah is the blueprint of creation, and therefore the Torah we're reading at any particular time is telling us about the flow of life into the world at this time. So to understand hey teves, we have to look into the parsha. There's got to be a connection between the parsha that we're reading at this time and the events that are taking place in the world. Principle number 2 that we have to keep in mind is that in the creation of the world, and we've learned this before, there needs to be a level of stabilization between energy and vessels. Like you have energy comes into a light bulb, and you have the light bulb itself, and they have to match. The energy can't be too great, and the light bulb has to be strong enough to take the energy. So we have amps and watts, and they measure these things because if the light bulb isn't strong enough, you don't get much light out of it. So you only get maximum light without busting the thing open. So at the first stage of development of anything, the energy is very, very great, and it smashes the vessels. Well, what happens to the vessels? We have to come down to a lower level of greater stability where the vessels are stronger and the light is less intense. So they just harmoniously work together, that the energy and the vessels just match perfectly, and we have a stable world. Okay, so the stable world is the world we live in, and a higher level before this is called chaos. In Hebrew, the word is tohu, not to be confused with tofudi. Tohu means tohu vavohu means utter confusion, and I compare it to, probably you don't know what this is about. There's a disease of the inner ear called Meniere's. Your balance is in the challenge in your inner ear. The balance of your body is controlled by canals in your inner ear. My mother suffered from this. All of a sudden, she would feel like seasick. She could be driving a car. It could just spring upon her. And she would have to lie down because the whole world was topsy-turvy. Because the whole balancing mechanism in the brain wasn't working. She had to take medicine for it. So it says about Toyu Vavoyu, if you saw what the world was at that, if a person would be there and see it, he would be totally astonished and terrified because you can't get your footing. It's totally unstable. That's the meaning of chaos. Total instability, where the energy is tremendous and the vessels are not strong enough to take it, and they're shattering. As the energy comes down, seeking a level like water coming down like rain, seeks a vessel that can hold it. Okay. So what happened when the vessels smash? This is called in Kabbalah the smashing of the vessels, the shattering of the vessels. So the vessel shatters, and the little pieces, like if you have these lamps here, what are they called? these lamps, light bulb, when a special kind of light bulb. When they smash, the little, fluorescent, little pieces end up flying all over the place. So the smashing of the light of the vessels in that creation. So these little pieces called sparks of energy fell. Now there's nothing holding them. They fell all the way down until they couldn't fall any lower. Like water seeks the lowest point. And these sparks are embedded in the world. Now comes the teachings of Kabbalah and the Baal Shem Tov, which teaches us this concept that we all have these sparks connected to us. Each person has sparks or branches of sparks or little tiny versions of these sparks that are pertinent to you in particular. These are the sparks that your neshama came into this world to get these sparks. It's like a person goes fishing on a fishing boat and there's a certain fish with his name on it and he's got to go fishing, throw the line in order to get the fish that has his name on. He's meant to catch that fish. After he catches the fish, we say that was the fish he was meant to catch. The Tzemach Tzedek said, I'm like a hat maker. A hat maker makes hats. If a person comes into the store and buys a hat, the hat maker can say, oh, I had you in mind. That's your hat. I made that hat for you. And the proof is you're buying it. So there are sparks with your name on them. Just like they say in wartime, they say that bullet had his name on it. So there are sparks that have your name on it. And you're here through your life looking for these sparks. That's why your neshama is here. That's what's driving you the whole time. Why does a person decides, I'm going to Niagara Falls? Why? I just feel like it. What makes you feel like it? There are sparks in Niagara Falls that you have to elevate. You're going to go to Niagara Falls and there's going to be a non-kosher restaurant and you're going to go to the 7-Eleven there and buy some kosher snack and say a bracha. And the sparks of energy in that food that you buy have been waiting for you to come and elevate them, return them to their source in God. You have to understand that. And if we understand that, then we understand also that it says in Hayom, this is how divine providence takes each person to the place where he has to go in order to do Torah and mitzvahs and elevate the sparks that are waiting for him there, sometimes since almost 6,000 years since the creation of the world. Waiting for him to come and say a bracha. The stones, the trees, you go to camp, summer camp, you're in the, you say a bracha somewhere, the trees and stones and earth in that place are waiting for somebody, for the right person to come and elevate the energy that's in them that fell there from the shattering of the vessels. Got it? We don't know where our sparks lie, but wherever we go, we do Torah and mitzvahs because maybe that's where the spark is waiting for me. Tzaddikim know where their sparks are and they go there. So we have a story that the Rebbe told in his very first mimer of the Rebbe Shmuel, Rebbe Maharash, the fourth Rebbe of Lubavitch, had a very short life, and yet he took more than a week out of his life just to go himself to France to meet some gay young aristocrat, gay in the happy sense, not the sexual sense. I don't mean that. So some young, high living aristocrat who was Jewish and schlep him out of his evil ways because his soul was connected with the Rebbe, and he says the holy soul hadn't been in the world for centuries. And he had to go himself to do it because it was such a high soul, he couldn't send anybody else. There's a whole story of what happened there. But we see an example there that a tzaddik knows where his sparks are to be found. And he goes there. So the Rebbe Maharash got up and went to Paris to confront this young man in the casino gaming room. In the casino. And out of this came a family of outstanding Jewish people. And we spoke about this in the end of chapter 2, where he says that sometimes the extraneous forces who have captured a neshama will release it in order that it should become a very big sinner. And here was this person involved in one sin after another, leading deeper and deeper into the muck. And the Rebbe Maharash went and pulled him out. So we have to understand that tzaddikim know what's the sparks that are connected to the essence of their life. Are you with me? Is everybody following this? Okay, that's second principle we have to understand. And that's why the Rebbe had certain things on his desk. If anybody ever moved them, the Rebbe was very upset, he would move them back. Not only he, but even Rebbeim before him. I read a story, Hanukkah time. There was an ashtray on the desk of maybe the Rebbe, I think it was the Rebbe Rashab. And this person was very close with him, intimate with him. He was given the right to light the shamash for the Rebbe, and he lit the shamash, and he went to put the match in the ashtray, and the Rebbe put his hand, stopped him from putting it in the ashtray, so he was there holding the match. So then the Rebbe went to do something else, and he wasn't looking, so he went to put the match in the ashtray, and before he could put it in, the Rebbe put his hand back. The Rebbe was very alert to everything that was going on, even though he seemed not to be paying attention to it. He did not allow anything to be tampered with on his desk. Everything had a purpose exactly where it was. And this is how tzaddikim live. Everything is extremely, extremely, extremely purposeful. There are stories about how the Rebbe, they were taking a whole pile of letters into the Rebbe. And somehow the Rebbe knew what was in every letter before he opened it. And there was a person, the secretary, one of Rabbi Klein, I believe it was, wanted to see if the Rebbe really knew. And he took a letter that was on top of the pile that needed to be answered, and he put it in the middle of the pile. And the Rebbe came in, he just took that letter out from the middle of the pile. How do you know? The Rebbeim know very, very well what their sparks are and what's pertinent to them. And something that's given to the Rebbe, or something that the Rebbe has, something the Rebbe owns, it's not just by chance, it's connected to the Rebbe. Where do we see this? In the story of the Alter Rebbe, Napoleon. Napoleon was trying to conquer Russia. The Alter Rebbe was fighting on behalf of Russia. And when Napoleon invaded, the way the Russians dealt with him was to run away. They let the country and the winter take care of him. And the Alter Rebbe had to flee Liozna, where he was living. And when he fled, he took everything from the house. Everything. And they set fire to it. And this was the Russian tactics. The Alter Rebbe was honored for his struggle against Napoleon with an eternal citizenship to Russia, to him and his descendants for all generations. That might be meaningful to any of you who grew up under the CIS. Although the Bolsheviks said, it means nothing to us. And they discounted it. But anyway, he took everything, and then in his flight, he sent back a chassid because he remembered that he had an old pair of slippers that were worn out, and they had thrown them underneath the building. You know, like in the country, you have buildings on stilts sometimes things get thrown underneath the cottage. He sent them back to retrieve the slippers. Napoleon, when he came to this village or town where the Alter Rebbe lived, the first place he wanted to go to was where was the house of the Alter Rebbe. He wanted to get some object that had belonged to the Alter Rebbe so that he would have a power over him. Yes, Napoleon was a bit of a black magician, a black magician, so to speak. He used demonic powers. That was part of his secret to be able to conquer so many nations so quickly. And he was very frustrated that when he came to the house, there was nothing there, absolutely nothing left of the Alter Rebbe, and it was burning down. So we see from this that even Napoleon understood the sparks of holiness were in any object that had belonged to the Alter Rebbe, had a connection to him, and thereby Napoleon could like override the power that the Alter Rebbe was bringing forth, was mustering in order to overcome Napoleon in the war against Napoleon. Okay, so that's the second principle, that there are sparks of holiness in everything, and for a tzaddik, these sparks have an intimate connection with his soul, and for everybody to have connection with his soul, but for a tzaddik especially. Now, what about the parsha? What do we see in the parsha? Yosef is in Egypt. Yosef was sold into slavery. He was betrayed by his brothers. They kidnapped him. He was sold into slavery. You know, on Yom Kippur, we read about the 10 martyrs, the 10 great tzaddikim. What's the story? The Roman emperor, the wicked emperor of that time, came to the Jewish people and said, what is the law? He called the biggest tzaddikim of the time. He said, you are the 10 greatest tzaddikim of your people. You're the leaders, the righteous ones, the wise men of your people. What is the law of your Torah? If a person is kidnapped and sold into slavery, what is the law? And they answered him, Rabbi Yishmael, Kohen Gadol answered him that the kidnapper, this is thou shalt not steal, in the 10 commandments, goes together with thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery or rape. These are all death penalty commandments. Thou shalt not steal doesn't mean in money, it means kidnapping. And they all bring the death penalty. So the answer is, person kidnaps and sells him into slavery, the death penalty. He says, what is the din? Your ancestors were the most righteous people in the world, and 10 of them sold their brother into slavery. What's the law? He said, death penalty. Was this law ever carried out? No. He says, so I'm going to carry this out on you because you are their representatives. So you see, this is carrying over this concept of spiritual energy. And these 10 people became the 10 martyrs that we read about on Yom Kippur with great, very, very harsh judgment. So this is the situation. Yosef was sold into slavery by his 10 brothers. What we learn from him in the story, by the way, in brackets, let's not leave it just like that, is we learn from him something we don't learn from anybody else. Of all the forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, we learn great lessons in all, but from Yosef, we learn something more. And what do we learn from Yosef? We don't learn it not from Abraham, not from Yitzchak, not from Yaakov. Pay close attention, girls, to this. Don't look in your cell phones now. What I'm telling you, we learn from Yosef forgiveness, the power of forgiveness, and emunah, trust in Hashem, that everything that happens, even when you don't understand it and you don't see it, you can't understand it, is part of a much larger picture that is being orchestrated by Hashem. Okay, now, Yosef has a great challenge ahead of him. How can the family be reunited? He's been separated from them for 22 years since they did this terrible, terrible thing to him of selling him into slavery. And he is a master strategist, and his response to them is not one of anger like any other normal person would do. He would take revenge. He doesn't take revenge. He says to them, first of all, he has to make them do tshuva. So how does he make them do tshuva? They did a terrible crime. So he accuses them of a terrible crime. He accuses them of being spies. They say, we're not spies, but they are. They're worse than spies. Spies come to kill. They tried to kill. They tried to kill him. Spies come to steal. So he accused them of stealing. He arranged it. He put his goblet into the sack of his brother, his real brother. They were his half brothers, into his real brother, his younger brother, and then rigged the whole situation that they discovered it and accused him of stealing. He says, I'm going to make you a slave. You're going to be my slave. The law is that if you catch a person doing a crime together with a group of people, they're all guilty. They're working together. So you're really all guilty. You should all be my slave, but I'm going to be a nice guy and let you all go home. And I'm just going to keep this one. Now what happens? Now this is the key to this week's parsha. The climax of the parsha. Yehuda, who was the one who said, let's sell him. Let's not kill this boy. Let's sell him into slavery. So he sold Yosef into slavery, which was a terrible thing to do. And they realized it. And therefore, the brothers didn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. He had to leave the family, because they all said that when they saw how anguished their father was, that Yosef was gone, and they pretended that he was dead. They rigged it to look like he was dead. On circumstantial evidence, there had no eyewitnesses that he was dead. They just brought his torn cloak, soaked in blood. And it looked like a wild, so Yaakov said it looks like a wild animal destroyed him, killed him. So when they saw the anguish of their father Yaakov, they said to Yehuda, Yehuda was too ashamed and too upset. He realized the terrible mistake he made. And Yehuda begins doing tshuva for the next 22 years. And now everything is going wrong. The brothers go down to get food. There's famine in the land. And they end up being thrown in jail and called spies and calling scoundrels and ganavim and murderers, because he tricks them into saying, why did you come? And what's your purpose? And what's your whole family? And they admit to him that there's a brother who's dead. And he says, is he really dead? Well, we don't know what happened to him. Well, he disappeared. We think maybe he's here in Egypt. Maybe he's still alive. And what would you do if you found that he was in Egypt? We would redeem him. And what if the people who if he is a slave and the people who own him don't want to sell him? Well, we'll pay any price. And what if they don't want to sell for any price? Then we will redeem him by force. We will kill or be killed. Says Yosef, that's what I said. You're murderers. You came here to murder people. They admitted it. You see, you came to murder people. And my magic goblet tells me the two of you killed off a whole city of Shechem, which they did. So now he says, now that the youngest brother has stolen this goblet from me, I'm keeping him as a slave. And now Yehuda, who sold Yosef into slavery, rises up like a lion. Unlike all the other brothers, he rises up like a lion to save Benjamin, his younger half-brother. Exactly the opposite of what happened in the first place, when he sold his half-brother into slavery. And Yehuda says, take me as a slave, I'm better in every count, and let him go. And if he won't agree to it, Yehuda is ready to fight to the death, even though Yosef is stronger than Yehuda, and he has an army behind him. And Yehuda is ready to fight to the death, and Benjamin will not be kept as a slave. We have to understand that. Yehuda is the ancestor of the Rebbe. And the ancestor of King David. Yehuda. And Yehuda rises to the call of the hour with his life on the line, and completely reverses the crime that he did earlier. Whereas he sold Yosef, now he is defending Yosef's brother and offering that he should be a slave instead. Now, what is tshuva? How is tshuva defined? Tshuva is when you do a sin and you find yourself in the same place, at the same motel, with the same person, and you don't commit adultery. Adultery is that sin is not done. That's a sign that you did tshuva. When all the circumstances are the same and you behave righteously instead of sinfully, that's a sign that you did tshuva. So this shows that Yehuda did tshuva. And how did he get there? Yosef already arranged it for him. Yosef led him to it. It was very, extremely intense, emotional. That's what's going on. Now, what's teves all about? We have to understand, there's almost no time left, so let me finish. That when a tzaddik owns something, it's connected to his soul. The previous Rebbe had 3 libraries. The communists took one, the Nazis took another. We don't know where it is. The library in Russia, Putin won't let it out. And he built a library here. He built another library here. There are all kinds of books in it. Religious books, not religious books, Jewish books. I have books in the Rebbe's library. All kinds of people have books in the library. It's a huge library. And this library is connected to the previous Rebbe because we understand that when a tzaddik has something, it belongs to him. Oh, I really had to say another story. Why did Yaakov go back over the river Yabok for 2 little jars that were left behind? The same idea, that those jars he had found when he was fleeing from Esau, and he had the famous dream of the ladder going up to heaven with the angels going up and coming down. And he woke up and he understood that all the stones became one stone. And he erected this stone. He says, this is really the gates of heaven. This is a holy place. And he poured oil on the stone and laid the cornerstone of the Beis Hamikdash. This is the place where the Beis Hamikdash was built. How did that oil get there? He gave everything away to save his life when Eliphaz, the son of Esau, wanted to kill him. He says, a poor man is like a dead man. Take everything I have, except my clothes. And that's what he did. So where did he get the oil? The oil was left for him by heaven. I would suggest that Yaakov kept those small jars with whatever oil was left in them. And that's why he went back in the middle of the night to get them, because they were connected to his soul. And maybe the oil in those jars was the oil they found in the Beis Hamikdash for Hanukkah that lasted 8 days. They use the same word about it, little jars, pachim ktanim. And that's when the angel wrestled with him and tried to kill him. And he didn't let the angel kill him until the end, and he didn't let the angel go until he had wrested for him a bracha, and that's when Yaakov became Yisroel. He gave him the name Yisroel. And we are the Bnei Yisroel. Okay, so now we have established the idea that whatever you own is connected to your soul. Now, the Frierdiker Rebbe built up this library, was connected to his soul. It was connected to his shlichus, which is their shlichus from the Alter Rebbe, which was their shlichus from the Maggid, which was their shlichus from the Baal Shem Tov, which is their shlichus from God, from Avram Avinu. The whole creation of the world depended on this. Okay, now comes along somebody and sneaks in the middle of the night and starts stealing the books. He says, I have a right. I have a right to do it. I'm the grandson of the Rebbe who collected them. And now, but the Rebbe, our Rebbe, understands these are not your books. These are the books that belong to my father-in-law, who is my Rebbe. And you have no right to them because they belong to him because he is alive. He did not die. My father-in-law did not die. Yaakov Avinu did not die. And these books belong to my father-in-law, and no one has the right to touch them. To learn from them, yes. And if you, my nephew, had wanted to learn from them, I had no problem. But to sell them on the market, that's not what they're for. And they are connected to the soul of your grandfather and to my father-in-law, and you're stealing them. It's like taking a needle and putting it in his eye. Can you imagine such a thing? How would you feel? And that's what was going on behind teves, which played itself out in the courts of law. And it was a very, very difficult case. And on teves, the case was won, and the right for the Rebbe to say that these belong to the, not to the Friedrich Rebbe, but the Friedrich Rebbe made this library for the community of the Hasidim. And as our Rebbetzin said, when she was asked, do the books belong to the Rebbe, she said, no, the books belong to the Hasidim. My husband belongs to the Hasidim. And the non-Jewish judge said that that's the most remarkable thing he ever heard. So good Yontif, good Yontif. The Rebbe said, what do we do? How do we celebrate the Yontif? We don't eat the matzahs. We don't eat ham and tashen. We read the books. Buy the books, read the books, learn the books. It's the victory of the books. It's the victory of, you see, it wasn't just the books that were on trial. The books was the handle of the frying pan. What really was on trial was the Baal Shem Tov was on trial. The Alter Rebbe was on trial. The whole Hishtalshelus of all the Rebbeim of the transmission of Panimius HaTorah, which is connected with the coming of Mashiach, that is what was on trial. Because if the books were just books and anybody could take them, that means the Rebbe is not a Rebbe. The Friedrich Rebbe is not a Rebbe, and the Rebbe is not a Rebbe, and where are we? So we were all on trial.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
What?
Thank you.
Rabbi Pape, you said that the Rebbe was it like came from.
Rabbi Pape, don't forget your hat.
Rabbi.
Yosef, right. Was Benjamin's brother.
Right.
They came from Rockwell.
Right.
Oh,
So
it was your
David Amnach came from Yehuda, who came from Leah. Thank you.
Rabbi Pape, your hat.
Rabbi
Rabbi Pape,
Pape, you forgot your hat.
My hat.
your hat.
My hat is there.
It was
Yes.
from like another class. I wish for you, so I'm it.
Last night it was cleaning.
Yeah. What happened? Honestly, I'll tell you.
I dreamed that Mrs. Cohen was, that there was an alarm for a fire, and you decided to be a leader. And they. I'll tell you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. It's really healthy. Thank you so much. My hair, unfortunately, no lashes. Maybe you need a haircut.
Mas eu quero abrir. Você acha que eu abro? Tipo,